My parents let my sister's family move into my apartment temporarily while I was working overseas. When I came home, my stuff was boxed in the garage. They called me ungrateful, so I made one call to the landlord. The next morning, their keycards stopped working. I, 27F, am an English teacher who has been living in Casablanca, Morocco for the past 9 months. Before I left last fall, I handed my parents a spare key to my apartment and gave them simple instructions. Just water my plants twice a week and pick up my mail. My parents and I are close. We video chat a couple times a month, so I trusted them completely to handle anything that might come up at home. I even texted my mom from the airport the day I left, joking, "Don't let my place burn down." She laughed and promised everything would be fine. Fast forward to last Tuesday. My school abruptly announced it was closing early for renovations. All teachers were asked to wrap up classes immediately. My program was supposed to run into the summer, but they changed the schedule on a whim. I scrambled to catch a flight back home. I spent the flight frantically thinking about what I'd come back to. I told myself it would be normal, that the apartment would be just as I left it, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. Finally, around 11 p.m., I landed and took a taxi directly to my apartment building. I was exhausted after the 11-hour journey, but relieved to be nearly home. When I arrived at the building and climbed up to my apartment door, I fumbled for my keys. The lock was a little stiff. I thought maybe it was just old, but now I realize it had been replaced recently. I pushed the door open and froze. The air smelled faintly of baby powder mixed with something else that shouldn't have been there. The living room was completely transformed. I stepped in and could barely believe my eyes. There were bright plastic toys scattered on the floor. A stroller was parked in the hallway. Children's drawings were taped to my walls. It was like a daycare had moved in. The furniture was all wrong too. My plain brown leather couch was gone. In its place sat a huge, colorful sectional covered with cartoon pillows. My glass coffee table was nowhere to be found. Instead, a cheap wooden table with crayon scribbles on it stood in the corner. Even the curtains were different. My sheer curtains were replaced with bright ones printed with animals. I noticed a half-empty baby bottle with old milk on the kitchen counter. My front door had a new deadbolt that I didn't recognize. I realized how still and heavy my heart was, as if my breath had been taken. Then I heard a soft giggle. Vanessa, my older sister 32F, emerged from the den with a grin, holding my 5-year-old nephew. Trevor, her husband 34M, had my 2-year-old niece asleep on his shoulder. They looked at me and said, "Surprise, sis. We missed you." My brain went blank. Vanessa launched into an explanation as if she expected me to be totally fine with this. She said with a smile, "Mom told me you decided to extend your lease for another year and wouldn't be back until next summer, so we thought it'd be okay to stay here while you were away." My mouth literally fell open. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. I just stared at them, feeling my blood run cold. If their story was true, it meant they'd moved my entire life out and turned my apartment into theirs, all without me knowing for months. I suddenly did the math in my head. If I was supposed to be back this summer and they treated my return as next year, then they'd moved in around last November, about 5 months ago. I was completely stunned. Vanessa continued chatting like I was going to laugh it off. She said they needed extra space for the kids and that our parents thought this would keep the apartment warm instead of being empty. I barely heard her. All I could think was, they took over my home.